It's about the journey, not the destination. Reality is better than imagination. When I feel free, free to be me. When I feel free, free to be me.
Welcome, everybody, to Travel Your Heart, a podcast where two gay grandpas explore life's travels together. Hi, everybody, it's Grandpa Bobby.
Grandpa Scott.
And welcome to a very special Halloween edition of Travel Your Heart, a podcast brought to you by two gay grandpas.
Or a taco and a pirate.
Well, now we need to explain, first of all, this is a very special Halloween edition, and there are some people who may just be listening to our podcast.
Okay.
So, Grandpa Scott, why don't you explain what you're wearing?
Well, I'm wearing a pirate's outfit, including a patch,
And why'd you choose that?
because I'm still dealing with my cataract surgery, and this seemed to be logical choice. So that's why I'm a pirate.
Well, and
Okay,
I
why are you a
wanted
taco?
I wanted to come as something elegant and traditional, something reflective of the cultural heritage of the area in which we live. So I came as a giant taco.
Yes.
You are what you eat.
Yes. So those who are seeing us on YouTube will be able to see us in all
our glory.
costumes blender.
Now, we want to explain for our friends overseas that Halloween is a big deal here in the United States. I don't know if it is in your country. We'd love to hear in the comments what your traditions might be or what you do for Halloween.
Oh, yeah. And in the queer community, this is like a very big holiday.
Yeah, a national holiday.
A national holiday.
And, it's really increasing popularity here in the United States. When we were growing up, you didn't see all the decorations or the parties or the wild costumes. So it's becoming a big thing. And I'm curious to see if it's increasing around the world. So do let us know.
Yeah.
So what we thought we'd do today is talk about what Halloween means to us, what it's been to us over the years, and how it's evolved for us. So, Grandpa, why don't you tell us about what Halloween was like when you were a kid?
Well, first, shouldn't we introduce Charlie?
Oh, well, for those of you who are viewing, we have a pumpkin here. For those of you who can't see it, well, it's just a big red, orange pumpkin with a kind of a grimace face on him.
Yeah.
Just a part of our Halloween decorations. So back to what we were talking about. Why don't you tell everybody about what Halloween was like when you were a kid? What part of the country you were growing up in?
Well, I was born in a lot of people know that kind of a rural coal mining town. And Halloween was always big for us kids. And what I remember most is, we walked around with pillow sacks.
You mean pillowcases?
Pillowcases. That's what I mean.
Well, what happened to your bed?
I think my patch is too tight. Yeah. Well, we walked around. Well, no, you took it with you. If it got dirty, Mom would clean it. But we went around with pillowcases. And we had to do that because it wasn't like you just walked next door to the nearest neighbor. The neighbor could be half a mile away because it was kind of a farming community. And then there was a small town that you could go to. But we lived on the outskirts and we were about 3 or 4 miles away from the town. So for us to go to 250 homes, which we would do for the candy, we were out all night.
You had to hoof it. You got your steps in.
Yeah, and, it was, near to November, so it was cold there. So we were bundled up, and then we were also in costumes. And by the end of the night, we would all come home a sweaty mess.
What sort of stuff would you get?
Ooh, good stuff. Believe it or not, apples, oranges, because, it being Utah, we didn't have a lot of fruit at that time.
Were you allowed to eat them?
Well, back then, we didn't have to worry about what some of the kids did.
It's not as dangerous a world.
That whole crap about razor blades and all that. What a dang shame. Sick SOBs. Excuse me. But we didn't have to worry about that. All our neighbors knew us, because and they would, it takes a village. they would watch out. And, some parents would follow if there was every home had a light, nobody hid. And, we'd get candy bars. Snickers were always big. Big Hunks. I don't know how many are familiar with the Big Hunk candy bar, but that was my favorite.
I've never heard of that. What's a Big Hunk?
Well, yeah, it's hard to explain, but it was just a kind of a long nougat candy bar with nuts in it, but it was
Sounds
thin.
good.
Ooh, they were delicious.
Now you
Tootsie Rolls.
You showed me once what that candy that was called an Idaho Spud.
Idaho Spuds, yeah. It was like marshmallow. It looked like a potato in chocolate, and inside was this marshmallow goo.
Sounds like it was worth all the steps.
It was a s'more without the graham cracker.
Well, where I grew up in a very northern climate in upstate New York. I grew up close to the Canadian border. So by the time October 31st rolled around, it was pretty darn cold. So when we were growing up, my mom would always buy our Halloween costumes about 2 sizes too big because we had to have complete snowsuits underneath our costumes just to be able to walk around. And imagine trying to walk around in a snowsuit and boots and a costume on top with a mask. By the time we came home, we would be a sweaty mess. Now, for us, we always, big Italian family, we always lived near our cousins. So we always went out in a gang with our cousins, and a lot of them were older than me. So our parents never came out. In fact, I don't remember parents ever going out with their kids. It was just a lot safer times back then. And we would go out for hours. We used to have the big paper shopping bags, and we'd go out with our trick-or-treating. And we used to love, my favorite were the big Hershey's bar. And you always told your friends which family gave out the big bars because that was a big prize. And then afterward, we'd come back and we would spill all our candy on the floor. And did you ever have what we used to have? It was called a candy swap. And we would go through and separate the candy, which we were definitely keeping. And then we would say, well, if you don't like that, I'll trade you that. Or if it was like a roll of Lifesavers, remember those? You'd get a roll of Lifesavers or a Sugar Daddy. And then you'd trade with your brothers and sisters or your cousins for the candy you liked. And of course, my mom would sort through anything that was like an apple or a fruit, or sometimes you'd get those popcorn balls.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
We'd sort through those things. And my mom, being the mother she was, we were allowed a little candy, but then she would put it away. And after that, we were only allowed like 1 piece per day because she didn't want us to have too much sugar. So I think we ate our Halloween candy all the way through the rest of the year.
You were really a deprived child.
What can I say?
I swear, I can't believe Ma would do that.
Yeah, you know my mother. Nah. Yes, you could.
And no, in my family, we didn't do any of the sit on the carpet, dump out the food. No, you hoarded that pillowcase full of candy because you worked your tail off for it. Okay? And boy, did you worked your tail off. It was like walking for hours.
Now, what sort of costume did you wear when you were a kid?
Oh, that. You got to remember, I grew up in the early 50s when I was a kid. So it was, the cowboy costume, maybe a soldier, and a skeleton. There were those kind of costumes. But honestly, most of them were homemade, because, we were...
Oh, your mom was a great sewer, too.
Well, also, it was a very, very working class community, right? And not a heck of a lot of money. And so people made do with what they had.
Yeah.
And so there were some very creative costumes. But not a lot of store-bought costumes.
Well, in our family, we used to have the costume box because, we had different family ages. So you would go to the costume box, and it was not like you got a new costume every year. I was a teddy bear, I think, for like 3 years running until the darn thing just wouldn't fit anymore. And then it was handed down to my little brother. So, yeah, it wasn't quite they never were dressed as tacos back in the day. And then during the year, we could play in the dress-up box. So it wasn't just limited to Halloween.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you got a little older and you were a teenager?
I did not do a lot of trick-or-treating. I fell into that thing. Well, I'm now a teenager.
I'm mature.
And, very mature. And, trick or treating is for kids, right? So there were years that I didn't do it.
Yeah. Same here. We would have some parties. We might have some friends get together, but we were too cool for that. But nowadays I've been seeing more and more teenage kids come up to the door, and you know what? I don't care what they're wearing, even if they're wearing just a silly hat. I encourage it. They're still being a kid. You grow up so fast. Don't worry about it. I can't understand the people that complain that, teenagers are collecting candy bars. Good Lord, it's a candy bar. Be happy they're not egging your house.
Yeah, I loved it, and we can talk about this a little bit later. I loved it when I would see parents dressed up coming with their kids.
Well, that happened later, not during our childhood.
Not during
parents
no,
rarely did anything at Halloween except give out candy.
Yeah. Well, when you grew older, you kind of helped give out candy,
and that was fun too.
That was our role. Yeah.
But then we moved to San Francisco at different times, but we were both met there, and that was a whole different sort of a celebration.
Oh, it was a hoot and holler.
There would be different clubs you would go to. In fact, the main street of the gay district is called the Castro, and Castro Street is the main street. And every Halloween, come late afternoon sunset, they would close down this street, and it would be a giant block party, and just miles of people all celebrating. And I imagine they still to this day
in costumes.
Yep.
Costumes.
Yeah,
boy,
elaborate.
There was elaborate. I mean, so many ostriches died.
Those feathers.
So there could be some costumes on the Castro.
Yep, and months before that, you would see all these guys hitting up the used clothing stores trying to buy things. And yes, your two great grandpas even attempted drag.
Yes, yeah, only once.
Yeah.
Only once, because I got told I looked like B. Arthur in Maud.
Yeah, you did.
That's because I did gorilla drag. I was not shaving my leg.
Well, there was too much to shave.
Oh, too much bother.
Yeah, we were not pretty drag queens, but you have to do it once and go dancing in a pair of high heels until your feet are sore and a wig in your sweat. I don't know how women do it, period.
I had a whole new respect for women who have to wear heels at work or any place. Or don't have to, they choose to, because those things are tortuous.
Yeah.
Tortuous?
Torturous.
Or tortoise.
Yeah, we did. Oh, and nails. We used to get like the press-on nail things. And it was like, how do you pick something up with these things?
I know. I mean,
it was great for scratching your back.
Yeah, I'm going to be real honest. How did you wipe your butt with nails?
Oh, gosh, I don't even think about it.
Well, you had to occasionally.
And we had a group of friends that we used to go out with, and we have some funny pictures of everybody dressed up, and some more successful. We had some friends who really made some very attractive females. Unfortunately, these grandpas did not.
No. As they said, I was not a pretty woman.
Yeah. And then later on, we moved to Southern California, and we had our grandkids. So that took on a whole nother meaning for Halloween.
Yeah, it was wonderful when the kids were able to walk. We jumped a little bit with our daughters.
Well, yes, but they didn't like to come up and trick or treat with us because they had their own
they had
friends.
Their friends there. That's true. So it was the grandkids. And when they were able to walk and go out, it was really wonderful.
Adorable costumes.
Adorable costumes. And just the sheer joy and excitement of it. Yeah. And there was kind of a tradition they would come to Grandpa's house.
All the grandkids at the first, when they were a little closer, younger, they would all come to our house, and we would make a giant spaghetti dinner, and garlic bread. That became our tradition. And then we would pass out candy to the kids, but they would then scatter, and some of them would last for 20 minutes. Some would last for an hour or so, but it was just so much fun. In fact, it was the first time Grandpa and I had moved to suburbia. And I remember the first year, we were not prepared
No.
because in San Francisco, where we lived, you might have one or two kids in the neighborhood because, there just weren't many kids in the neighborhood. But when we moved into a suburban neighborhood,
We're talking hundreds.
Hundreds. And I remember the very first year, I had to go out on Halloween night to get more candy, trying to avoid all the little tykes in the street.
It was so strange because the people who were trick or treating, word would spread when an area was really giving out good candy, and so the next thing you know, it's not just your local kids, but suddenly vans are pulling up, cars are pulling out, they're being let out, and they're just going all over your.
Yeah, I remember. I thought it was a strange thing. You'd see a minivan pull up in the middle of the street, doors would slide open, kids would scatter, and the minivan would just roll down the street.
And that very first year, I'm looking at the candy bowl. And it was a huge candy bowl, and I got 4 pieces, and I'm going, oh. Bobby, you got to get back here.
Cut down. They only get one.
And I guess it was hard to get candy on.
Yeah, I ran out and
on
did
Halloween because it was
just terrorized trying to drive in the dark, trying to avoid kids to get to the store to buy anything.
Yeah.
It was like we were going to go through the house. Like, what can we give them here? How about some pennies?
we were better prepared after that.
Yes,
year.
after that we learned. So that was more successful. Yeah. And then as our grandkids got older, because it was such a tradition in our house, they would bring their friends. And so it became quite a thing. Everybody went to Grandpa's house because we also had a good neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the one year, because our daughter would go out and, supervise the kids, and they came back with bags of bagels. Remember, there was a bakery nearby.
They gave out
bagels.
The bags of bagels.
A bag of 6 bagels. Like, oh, hey, this is great. Let's go hit up this house again. And people would set up, haunted houses and stuff. And it was really neat. The last house we lived in fact, because it was warm in Southern California on Halloween night, people would have like bonfires in their front yard. In fact, we even bought a little fire pit so that we could sit outside in the front lawn, and you sit up your table.
You put it in the driveway, and then typically what would happen is you'd put up some tables behind that, and you'd put out your candy, but you'd also put out food. People in the neighborhood would our neighbors made chili. And it was open to everybody. If the parents were with the kids, they go, here, come and warm up and get some chili. Yeah. And we started doing that too. Then the next thing you knew, there was all these fire pits.
Yeah, it was becoming like a block party, which was actually fun because, what we found in later years is that parents were coming out more and more with their kids, and a lot of times dressing up in costumes. So I remember one family came as the Flintstones, mom and dad, and the little kids, and that was fun.
It was wonderful to see.
And I also remember the parents were coming around with cocktails. So they were staying, and you go from table to table in the neighborhood and just have.
Some of us had mulled wine to give to the adults to warm up.
So that was fun. Unfortunately, now we only have one little tyke left who goes trick-or-treating. And as the years went by, our kids would come to the point where maybe they'd go out for an hour, but in the end, they would hand out the candy. But they still dress in costume. And God love them, our kids still really get into Halloween with costumes and decorations.
I think it's that whole anime thing still. They're very much into that.
And I can understand why Halloween is becoming a bigger holiday because like Thanksgiving here in the States, it's not an overly expensive holiday. You can dress up, get a little candy, and just have some fun with the neighborhood.
A little candy.
Well, hundreds and hundreds of bags. In fact, our sister, Scott's sister, Sue, she is known for being the Halloween lady. She does gigantic displays in her neighborhood, and she's renowned for all the candy she has to give out.
Yeah, she actually sits out on her lawn.
In costume.
As a witch or something. Well, my other sister, Jeanette, before Jeanette passed, would do the same thing with her. And, people will drive. They were teachers, and they're retired, but students they had when they discovered this was going on, they drive their kids from miles away to
and then
come
bring
to
their kids as the years went by.
Still happens.
Yeah. So now we have into another phase of our life that we moved to Tucson, and we're not near our grandkids for Halloween. And we
Sad
noticed,
face.
but because we live in a more remote community, we're right up against the mountains. We don't have little kids coming around. In fact, last year we didn't have a single kid for Halloween,
Well,
which
we
was
don't live
sad.
in Tucson proper.
Yeah, we live on the outskirts.
We wanted a more rural area.
So we got it. But there is a price you pay with it. So we have decided to start a new tradition, and we're having a Halloween party at our house. So this year we have about 40 people coming.
Yeah, who live around the neighborhood.
And our friends.
Yeah.
And it's a costume party. Costumes are mandatory. We're going to give out prizes for the best costumes. And everybody's going to bring a Halloween treat of some sort. So we have no idea what we'll all have.
Yeah, we just asked them to bring some kind of a dessert, with themed dessert or a special treat. And we're doing a little finger food for people to nibble. It's all about having some fun.
Just getting together. You know, we've loved Halloween over the years and all the different iterations we've experienced in our life. So it's just fun to keep that spirit going in your heart. Like we always said, just because you grow older, you don't have to grow up. You can still be a giant taco.
Arr. Or a pirate. Pirates did not say arr.
I have no
That's
idea
Hollywood. They
Ahoy.
no.
Wench? I
That's
don't
how
know.
Hollywood screenplay pirates speak.
Having never met a pirate, I really can't say what was in their vocabulary.
Well, some were very intelligent people.
Yes, well, Drake
Yes,
in England.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
They got a bad rep. Well, you will give them a much more
I'm giving them a
erudite pirate.
Do you like the tasteful
Yeah, I
gold
love the
earring?
So we'd love to hear about your Halloween traditions and what you're doing this year and how you're going to celebrate it.
Yeah, if you're listening to our podcast, you can text us there. We'd love to hear about that. If you're watching us on YouTube, just put it in the comment sections.
Well, and that's a good time, Grandpa, to give a little plug. We would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And also, you can give us a look on Two Gay Grandpas Travel on YouTube and check out our travel videos. We'd love to have you subscribe, give us a like, and hit that notification bell so that you can keep in touch with us and all of our travel journals.
Absolutely, we would love that.
And Grandpa,
We do have a little bit of a.
Well, I was going to say, it's also that time of year here in the United States that November rolls around. And in addition to being All Souls Day and All Saints Day, well, we have Election Day.
Yeah. And so to our fellow Americans, you need to vote. This is a critical election. And yes, we run the risk of maybe losing some followers and some subscribers here, but this is a very important election. American democracy is at stake. Please vote to protect our democracy.
And for moral decency and kindness,
Compassion.
one of the things we've realized as we've traveled around the world is the impact that the United States have on the rest of the world. And it's not really been brought up a lot in our election because most people want to think about their own bread and butter issues. But America plays a very big role in the world. And I see that we have a great responsibility, not just to ourselves and our country and the people here, but to the people we impact all over the world in terms of climate change, in terms of the economy, in terms of global security. So we urge all of our listeners, please get out and vote this November.
Please vote.
But we thought we'd end on a much more positive note, Grandpa. We have actually some news to share with you. Why don't you tell our listeners?
Kind of a treat. I'm going to get my little notes here because I want to be sure I see everything
with your
my
good eye.
Okay.
By the way, Grandpa's eye is getting much better.
Much better.
Hopefully, before our next trip, he'll be all healed.
Yeah, totally.
So tell us all about it.
Well, as some of you know, we are doing a meet and greet group tour cruise, right?
We're going cruising.
And we're going to go cruising, and we wanted to give you a little bit more information about it. It's going to be a 7-night Caribbean cruise, and we're going to be on the Celebrity Beyond, which is an incredible cruise ship. We'll be departing Miami Beach on May 25th, 2025, and we're going to be going around the Eastern Caribbean, and we'll return to Miami on June 1st. So we're going to be in Miami for our first port. Then we're going to beautiful Nassau. Then we're going
in the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's right. Then we're going to go to St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Never been.
And then we're going to Saint Martin, which is
it's a protectorate of the Netherlands. So you
right.
can say another country. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Beautiful. And then from there, we'll come back to Miami. But we're going to be doing some things on board. We'd
love to have you join us. In fact, what they do is if you sign up, you get discounted rates because you're followers of 2 Gay Grandpas. And once we know how many people will go along with us, then we can plan some activities on board while you're there. I foresee a lot of cocktails with umbrellas.
And surprises.
Yeah.
Some surprises for those who
So how do they
join
find
us.
out more about this?
Well, here we go. What I'm going to do is in the description section for those following us audio-wise on our podcast, we're going to be putting in a link where you can go and learn more about the cruise. If you're viewing us on YouTube, we will put that link where you can get more information about the group cruise. We'll put that in the description section of the video.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a lot of fun, and it's not something you have to pay for totally right now. You can put a deposit down, and therefore you can lock it in to make sure you get the special rate.
Yeah. Just be aware that the deposit is not refundable. So make sure, we want to totally be honest with you, make sure you want to go before you put down your hard-earned dollars.
Yep, and we'll make sure you have a lot of fun and a good time while you're there.
Yeah, we're planning some surprises and fun.
Hopefully, we will not come in costume. You're not going to see me as a giant taco there.
You mean I can't still be a pirate?
You can still be a pirate. It's appropriate on a cruise ship.
Well, no, it's not. No, a pirate on a cruise ship probably isn't appropriate.
So that's something great to look forward to in the new year. As you know, you're looking forward to the holidays. It'd be a great gift idea.
Yeah, to yourself.
That's right. Who better to receive a gift than you?
So this will probably be we're going to be doing some podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be doing some podcasts from Europe when we do the...
Well, we're going to try. You know how difficult it is to do podcasts abroad.
I know, but we'll make it work.
But we'll at least make another podcast before we leave. And also, believe it or not, coming soon, we'll be starting to decorate for Christmas. And you know how your grandpas love Christmas. So we will make sure you're brought on board while we're doing our decorating this year.
Yeah, we're thinking of doing a videotape
showing
us decorating.
Well, last year we had showed you our trees when they were finished, but we thought this year it might be fun to show in progress, to show how we fight over how the trees are decorated.
No, unfortunately, those listening to the podcast, you won't be able to see that, but you can see it when we post that
on YouTube.
Hilarious decorating event on our YouTube channel.
So what'd you think of this podcast, Grandpa?
Oh, well, honey, I just loved watching you with the
the
taco.
taco.
I am so hungry right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm ready to take a bite out of myself. So, we thank you all for joining. We know you have choices of podcasts and watching YouTube videos. And so we really appreciate your support and your subscriptions.
Yeah, and we hope these are bringing you a little fun during some trying times and stressful times.
Absolutely. So, as we always say, whether you're traveling through life or traveling around the world, always remember, travel your heart. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye, everybody.